Hi guys, welcome back. So I finished both of the pendants and glued them down to the earrings, I should say, not pendants, and glued them down to the ultra suede. And so they're on there pretty good. The glue's dried. It's been about an hour or so. And so the next step is going to be cutting these out of the suede. And so I'm just going to cut around just to get them off the suede. Off the big part. And so we're just going to take one, and all I'm going to do is cut it so it's right up in line with the and you do have to kind of cut it on an angle just because the beads get in the way of the scissors. You know, just take your time with this step. Again, you don't want to cut. You want to make sure you're not going to cut anything, and you don't want to cut it too far back here where you're going to see felt back there. So you want to make sure it's completely just the suede. Now, if you have extra suede in the front, that's fine because it'll come off in the next step. So we're just going to clean this up a little bit. And so there's one. And they're looking quite beautiful already. Finishing touches are gonna put it over the top. And you'll see what I mean when we're done. And again, it doesn't have to be, so like you'll notice that it's a little loose there, little floppy on the edges, and that's fine. Again, we're sewing this down, so it's not going to be, loose at all. It's going to be nice and tight, and it'll look completely finished as well. Now you have options on how you want to do your hanging portion of this. You can either sew in a jump ring, or you can use wire guardians, or you can use seed beads to make the little bail to hang this. I haven't decided yet, but that's fine because we're going to need to do that afterwards. So I'm pouring a lot of beads in here because I'm definitely going to be using them. I have some thread but it's not really that long. So again, I'm going to grab another piece of thread just because I like to do this step, preferably in one thread. And I'm going to use the black, just because it is, it kind of recedes in. And we're using darker colors anyways. Now, to start this, I am going to put a knot in the bottom here. And I'm going to make it a fairly big knot. Now, you're probably looking at this going, my God, that's a huge knot. But what we're going to do is we're going to find a spot, probably up by the top here, and we're going to peel away the layers, and I am going to stick this in through in between the backings, and that's fine. It will stick out for a second, but we will cover that. And if you don't like that, I mean, you can ultimately just tie it in, stitch it in. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back through one more time because I do want this to be nice and secured, and make sure it's not going to be loosey-goosey when I start beading. And I want my thread up at the top. And so see, I can now stitch that in trim this side off and you will never see. So the first step is going to be, we're doing a basic brick stitch over this. So I'm going to take 2 beads. And on this, you're going to have to be very careful as to lining up your beads. And so I like to figure out about the right spacing. And I'm going to go through both the felt and the suede. And then I'm going to take my thread from the front and go back up through that second bead. Now, the first bead is going to be a little wobbly, a little wonky to start out with because we don't have anything attached to that just yet, and that's fine. Next step is picking up another bead, just one, if I can get one here. There we go. And then again, if you're not sure of spacing on your beads, only do one at a time, and then pull it all the way down, line it up, get a good eye line of where. So what I'm trying to say here is when I set this up, let me get my bead on there and show you. I am making sure that when I put my needle in, and this bead lies flat against the suede, that it's not going to be having a big space, and it's not going to be so crammed that it's going to be wobbly. You want this to be fairly smooth. And you don't really want to go too far into your earring. You just want enough to bite the back of the fabric. And if you didn't want to use black, and I'm thinking maybe black might not be so, but it's not really going to show that much. And as you can see, the back there is going to have just a few beads, so, or a few spots. And again, I could use gold, I could get copper, I could get brown. I don't have any brown thread. I could use regular thread like this to do it, but I think the black will be fine. Oh, and I did it again. Messing up all my beads. I do that all the time when the beads are in front of me. And it's partly because I'm on camera, because normally I'm sitting on a couch and I'm doing this over a tray where I don't make a mess. I'm going to clean this up. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. I'm actually going to make this a little shorter by just doubling up on the thread. And I also put on my magnifying, because I've gotten to the point where I can guesstimate pretty well the size of the beads and how far over I need it to go. And again, we can do one layer here, or I can do multiple layers. So meaning if, oh, I'm really not liking this thread. Come on. I mean, that doesn't look bad. That's fine. If you wanted to, for example, do a second layer of beads on the brick stitch, you could. You don't have to. So I am just gonna adjust you here a little bit more so I can see and you can see. Sorry about that, guys. Just because this is very close work, And I know my fat fingers get in the way. And I'm making sure I pull it very nice and tight because I don't want these going anywhere. And as you can see, this is finishing up the edge beautifully so that it looks really good and you've got your nice copper. Although I'm not sure I like those there. I might want to switch it up and use regular copper beads. Just because you can see, I mean, I can see clearly through that. And now I like it. I do like it. Maybe. I don't like it. Let me pause you and grab some different copper beads and see if I can find something that'll look a little bit better than that. Alright guys, I'm back. So I've played with it a little bit, and I know that one bead is wonky, which bugs me until it's done, but I decided to go with just plain soft copper just to line it, and I started doing a few, and I think that looks good. So I'm going to continue on, and I'm just going to probably fast forward through this section a little bit, just so you can kind of see the process. But yeah, so again, we're just going to continue on all the way around and lining up the beads, making sure they're tight side by side. And you will see up close, you will see some of the thread, which is why I'm using black, because it will kind of fade in. But again, nobody's going to be coming up to your ear and looking like right up at the edge there. Like nobody's going to be looking at that. You know, if they do, they're really, really close. There's usually the 3-foot rule. If you hold something 3 feet away, that's about what, on average, people see when they're looking at your jewelry. Because, again, most of the time, unless they're right up in your face or you take off the jewelry to let somebody examine it, they're not going to be seeing you that close. So they're not going to see the black thread. They're not going to see. Now, if I had bright white thread there, they'd probably see that. It would look funny. Or it would just look odd anyways. And they'd probably notice it. But black tends to fade in. Darker colors tend to fade in to the background, whereas lighter colors stand out. And again, if I was doing, you know, white shibori with white everything, I would use white because that would also blend in. So you pick your colors. And so I'm just going to continue going around. Probably won't talk much. Getting into knots. I hate it when they do that. Thankfully, I have my glasses on that are magnifiers right now. Well, that's not coming out, so we're just going to do that. Which is also why I have extra long thread to go around, is because I tend to deal with knots. And so, yeah, so my magnifiers, they're these. They're 400 magnification. So, like, literally, I can see everything really well when I'm beading. I bought them on Amazon. Just because doing fine detail work like this takes quite a bit of focus power, and that and good bright light is your best friend. All right, so I'm going to continue working on this. I'm not going to talk, and that way I can fast forward through this part and we can continue on. I may pause the video so it doesn't get super long and then just come back when I'm done, just to show you how I'm going to finish this up. And then we will get back together and put everything together. And yeah, and see, the back does not look bad. You can see the stitches, but that's fine. Again, nobody's really going to be looking at the back too much. Try to get your stitches even. I know I've got a couple that are extra long there. All right, I'm going to finish this up and I will be back. Okay, guys, I'm almost done. So I just wanted to make sure you got the pattern on doing these. And while it's not perfectly flat, because I did do a couple that were a little tight, again, nobody's going to notice if this is not perfect. Also, if you use Delicas instead of just regular seed beads, it'll go a lot better. So basically, you pick up a bead, go from back to front through your suede or your backing, whatever your backing is, through the felt, and then back through the bead, and then just pull it tight. Tips and tricks on doing these. If you're going to do this and you're going to attempt it, felt is great for a foundation. As far as your backing, get something that's non-woven, something that's not going to fray. Suede, ultra suede, leather, faux leather, any fabric that won't fray if it's not 100% sewn. Because you don't want to do all this work and then have, your beautiful work messed up because your fabric starts fraying. All right, so now I'm back to the top, and while it's not a complete point, that's fine. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back through this seed bead that I started on, and then I'm going to stick this from just through the back of the seed bead, just so it's there, and then I'm going to go back to front, and then go back up through that seed bead one more time, because I needed to get my thread up to the top. So what I think I'm going to do is I've got 2 beads here at the point. So there's this one here that I just went down through, and then this one here that I'm going to come back up through. And so what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to just string on a wire guardian. I'm going to use copper. And do it that way so that when I put my earring finding on, it will be, it'll be finished, and then it's not going to detract from the look of this. So I'm going to go up through the one side of the wire guardian and then down through the other side. So there are holes. I don't know if you can see that real well. There are holes there that I'm just going through, and then I am going to just go back through that second seed bead and pull it tight. Now I'm going to go back through this several times just to make sure that my thread is fully secure and it's not going to come out. Now, if you have anything, and you might need, because it's going to start getting tight, I may only be able to get one more pass, or this pass through. I don't think I'm going to be able to get another one through that, which should be okay, because this thread's pretty good. And then I'm going to go back up through my wire guardian, back down through, and then back through that seed bead. And again, they're getting tight because there's a lot of thread on those first 2. just because we went through it a couple of times. And so now that I've got that on there, that's my hanging clasp, I am going to go through a seed bead or two on the front because we need to finish this off. Now, you could opt for adding additional beads. Like, I could go and add more beads, but I think that's fine. And so what I'm going to do is I am just going to find a thread here, not the one I just went through, but one of the ones underneath, like, so I'm going between this bead and this bead and finding a space, and I'm just going to form a knot, pull it nice and tight, and then go through the beads, go through a few beads, and then just tie it off again in another spot. Like here would work because there's space to get underneath, and then go through a few more beads. And one more knot, and then a few more beads, and then we'll call this done. We'll put our toggle clasp, we'll put our clasp on. I think for my clasp, I'm going to use copper because this is copper. There's a lot of copper here, and so I'm just going to go through another couple of beads and cut off there. All right, so I will give you a close-up in a second. Let me grab some ear wires, or an ear wire. I still have the other one to finish. So this is what it looked like before, and then this is what it looks like after. And as you can see, it gives it a nice finished edge. It does make it a little bit bigger, but that's fine. And we're just going to put our wire guardian on, close this up, and there you go. So, shibori. And there's what it looks like on the side. And here's what it looks like on the back. So the back's nice and finished. You really don't notice the stitches too much. Again, 3-foot rule, but here's a really good close-up. And that's what it looks like. So, what do you think, guys? I mean, I'm loving this. I got to go finish the other one. So I have a set, but I love this. And this was made with some beads from the Curated Bead Box and some beads from my stash. And if you want a deeper, in-depth tutorial, let me know in the comments. And I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.